Music. It's everywhere, and it influences us every day. Stores and restaurants use it to attract their desired demographics. We use it for dancing and having a good time, to set the mood on a date night. Restaurants use it to enhance the palate. Call centers use it to keep people calm while they're waiting on the line and to keep them waiting longer. And grocery stores use it to fog the mind from second-guessing purchases. Movies use it to invoke emotions or fear. I use it in my videos to help drive a point home or to trick people into thinking I'm funny. I'm Germ, I'm mentally diseased, and today I want to talk about music and how cults like Jehovah's Witnesses use it for mind control. Because if everyone in the real world is using music to influence people into doing what they want them to do, surely religions are doing the same thing, right? The Unification Church, also known as the Moonies, were known to take popular songs, strip them of their lyrics, and replace them to help create an insular environment. Revivalist preachers use repetitive music with a beats per minute range between 45 and 72 BPM that matches the human heartbeat to put their members into an altered state of consciousness when they enter places of worship and leave them in a more susceptible state. Jehovah's Witnesses use music to appeal to your emotions, putting you in the mindset to feel rather than to think. They play this music the moment you walk into a Kingdom Hall, much in the same way that revivalist preachers do, to immediately foster a sense of community. You then sing 3 times per meeting, at the beginning, the middle, and the end, each time to establish the feeling that they wish to target. This is part of the 3 stages of mind control described in Stephen Hassan's Combating Cult Mind Control. It's a process that is used to instill in their members a new personality. Does that sound familiar? In phase 1, they unfreeze your personality, get it ready for molding. Phase 2, they do the actual changes that they're intending to make. And in phase 3, they refreeze the changes that they wanted to make. Each of these phases can involve, depending on the organization's method, the use of repetition, monotony, and rhythm to instill the changes in behavior they're looking for. Another way that Jehovah's Witnesses use music is to soften the impact of their doctrine. Every single Witness song is instructional, a hard list of demands made into a catchy hook that won't leave your mind no matter how monotonous the melody is. Jehovah's Witnesses hold a lot of really problematic beliefs that their members are stubbornly oblivious to how problematic they really are. But why? Well, one reason could be because their brains have been primed through music to not associate these things as negatively as normal people do. Having a talk to encourage parents to beat their kids? Start out with the song Children, Precious Gifts from God. Need to ask people to quit their jobs and live in poverty for the rest of their lives to evangelize? We got one for that, The Life of a Pioneer. What's that? You're changing doctrine that people died for just a few months ago? No problem. Get them ready and primed with The Light Gets Brighter. A study in 2004 on the effects of music and semantic processing found that the use of music and language can prime the meaning of a word, and that music can, as language, determine physiological indices of semantic processing. Words like obey. Like magic. Now, to talk about this more in depth, I want to introduce my friend Brigette Pfister to take a look at one of the more recent and popular JW songs, Sister Pfister. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Hi, I am Brigette Pfister, otherwise known as Sister Pfister. This would never work if I was a Jehovah's Witness again, because every time somebody called me that, I would die laughing. I actually do a number of different videos on my channel, Brigette Pfister. And my favorite video series is deconstructing Kingdom Melodies. I call them Kingdom Melody analysis videos. So I just take the old 1984 Kingdom Melodies that I grew up with and basically take them apart and make fun of them and stuff.
She does a great job with her Kingdom Melody videos. Be sure to check her out after you finish watching this one. So, Brigette, there's a lot of Kingdom Melodies, as you're aware, but there's
like
always
209
been...
of them?
Yeah. There's always been a handful that saw a higher rotation than others, though. When you were a Witness, what would you say the favorite Witness song was?
Well, when I was really small, before the Ugly Brown songbook came out, it was always "We're Jehovah's Witnesses." But after the Brown songbook came out, there was a song called "Life Without End at Last" that got really heavy rotation. They played it every couple of weeks at the meeting, and then they played it at every single funeral. I mean, it was like the song for a really long time.
Yeah, it was the same for me. I think we probably sung it at least twice a month, at the very least. Sometimes more than that. And it was my favorite, and now it's so stupid.
Yeah.
When you go
Well,
back and listen to
it
it.
really felt stupid to me, even when I was in and we were singing it at the meetings, because there were certain lines in that song that I just groaned inwardly every time we had to sing, like "Food will be there, all will share." It just doesn't. It's not lyrical. It doesn't. And then when you're specifically when you're at a funeral and you're in this state of grief, or a normal person would be, and you're singing out with joy of heart, no.
Yeah. Well, it definitely set the tone. I mean, of every religion, I think witness funerals are the strangest because they're the least sad people about someone dying.
Right.
Which, that song really sets the tone for that. So, evidently, this favorite has been replaced recently as the big favorite that gets a lot of playtime with a new one called "Listen, Obey, and Be Blessed." Hey, Google, what is low-hanging fruit?
I think that's Jehovah's Witnesses.
All right, so you listened to it. Have you been blessed? What do you think of their latest chart topper?
Oh, wow. Actually, I have a lot to say about this one. It's bad.
All right, let's get into it.
All right. This song is a shining example of brainwashing at work. It was introduced in the 2009 songbook as song number 120. In the 2017 songbook, it is song number 89. And it's got all the tricks. It's repetitive. It's delivered in this chant-like sing-song that seems almost designed to put you to sleep. It's got guilt, it's got gaslighting, and lots of thought-terminating cliches. And it's very childish. Well, why not? You might say this is a video that they made for children, but that's not all it is. This song is also part of the regular songbook, the book from which the entire congregation has to sing in unison several times at each meeting. Yeah. Now, before we really get into it, we need to talk about the concept of a thought-terminating cliche, because this is something that the witnesses use constantly. The term was coined by Robert J. Lifton in 1961, and he defines a thought-terminating cliche this way. The most far-reaching and complex of human problems are compressed into brief, highly reductive, definitive-sounding phrases easily memorized and easily expressed. These become the start and finish of any ideological analysis. Sound familiar? This technique was used extensively in Communist China and Nazi Germany. It's also used extensively by cults like Scientology and the Jehovah's Witnesses. Want some examples? Well, here you go. She's disfellowshipped. This means that she is effectively no longer a person, and nothing she says or does matters anymore to anyone, ever. Here's another one. Apostate. Now, once someone is called an apostate, all rational thought or consideration completely ceases. I mean, a Jehovah's Witness will straight up shut down. They won't even communicate with you anymore at all. So, be on the lookout for thought-terminating cliches in this song. Also, I'm thinking this might have been an early attempt at animation for the Watchtower because it's really not good. These people are all angular and dead-eyed, and honestly, a few of the frames are really pretty creepy looking.
If we have listened to Christ, will we show it?
Jehovah's Witnesses use questions like this all the time to influence certain actions or to induce guilt, to induce certain feelings in people. It's done so often that witnesses don't even notice what's happening most of the time. So are we supposed to listen to Christ? Well, yeah, sure. If we're Jehovah's Witnesses, we probably think that is a no-brainer.
Will we show it? Well, if we're good Jehovah's Witnesses, we would answer a resounding yes to this one as well. But what the hell does that mean? To a Jehovah's Witness, listening to Christ equals listening to the Watchtower, and showing it means obedience in all things. Behavior, dress, grooming. Hi, Harrison. Ratting out your friends and family if they break a rule, you name it. But why would we be duty-bound to prove that we have listened? I mean, why do we have to show it? Why is that a thing?
His teaching shines as it shows us the way.
Well, that's funny. I don't even think he was still in the running for Great Teacher of the Year. So how does his teaching shine? They're claiming it comes from Christ, but that's kind of ridiculous. Oh, don't take our word for it. This is coming from Jesus. What exactly is this teaching supposed to be showing us? The way to what? They want you to think that they're showing you the way to salvation, to paradise, to eternal life, but in reality, they're actually showing you the way to completely cede control of your life, to isolate yourself, and basically to serve whatever purpose they tell you to.
It makes us happy to hear and to know it, but we'll be blessed if we know and obey.
So I want you to think about your time as a Jehovah's Witness, particularly as a child at meetings. Did listening to those endlessly boring and repetitive talks make you happy? Weren't you just delighted to hear about how wrong masturbation was for the 476th time? Didn't that exhaustive study of ancient prophecies just tickle you to death? And wasn't field service just the living end? No. But it says right here that it makes us happy to hear and to know it. So if all of that didn't make you happy, then something's wrong with you. Or else all this exhaustion and boredom is what happiness is. But if you want blessings too, you have to obey. Obey. How interesting.
Listen, obey, and be blessed.
Cliche.
When you hear God's will expressed.
So in case you missed it, if we obey them, we will be blessed. It's a pretty bold claim there, Watchtower. Where's the proof? Are there Jehovah's Witnesses who have listened, obeyed, and not been blessed? Why, yes. Yes, there are. Many of them. I notice that there is absolutely no explanation for this, and if a Jehovah's Witness goes to the elders with such a question, what are they going to be told? They're going to be told to pray, preach, and study more. And once again, Watchtower is here claiming the authority of the Almighty. But how do you really know that what you're hearing is, in fact, God's will expressed? I mean, how could anyone ever claim to know that, considering that there isn't one single shred of credible evidence that God even exists? Well, I mean, the Watchtower does claim this. In fact, they claim that God's will is only expressed through the governing body. They say this in a million different ways in their meetings, talks, songs, and literature, and yet, when asked in front of a court of law, and it's on video, on record in the Australian Royal Commission, they deny their regular and repeated claim that they are the sole mouthpiece of God in modern times. I find this very, very interesting indeed.
If you'd be happy and enter his rest, listen, obey, and be blessed.
What, is he dreaming about us or something? No? Then how are we going to enter his rest then? Because I am not going into his bedroom. You can forget it. Seriously though, listen to this language. If you'd be happy. The implication is that if you don't listen and obey, then you don't really want to be happy. You'd rather be unhappy, which is what will happen if you don't listen and obey the Watchtower. This is what they teach Jehovah's Witnesses, that if they leave the organization or disobey the rules in any way, they will crash and burn and their lives will suck from then on. Y'all, there is nothing further from the truth. Life is infinitely better in the real world.
Our way of life, like a house, gives protection when it is built on a rock, not on sand.
Cliche! The phrase our way of life sets up the dichotomy of an in group and an out group, or us versus them. So if you are an obedient Jehovah's Witness and you follow all of the many rules, you're going to be protected. But to compare all those rules to a house that protects from the elements is kind of stupid. I mean, what are all these rules really protecting Jehovah's Witnesses from? Friendship? Intimacy with other humans? The ability to think for themselves? Restful Saturday mornings? What? What's also interesting here is what happens if a Jehovah's Witness follows all the rules religiously and then still has problems, i.e. they don't appear to have been protected properly. What happens then? Well, those people are told to search their lives for hidden sin because they must be doing something. This is the kind of stupid we're dealing with here. But then they start talking about rocks and sand, and we get a little bit lost. Jehovah's Witnesses love the metaphor of the house built on the rock versus the sand, and how the foundation doesn't get washed away if you build on rock. But guys, how is their way of life built on rock? I mean, I can really think of nothing more like sand than their doctrine. Quicksand, even. Constantly shifting, goalposts constantly being moved. And as far as the animation in this video goes, I think they're trying a little too hard to convince us that Jehovah's Witness families are normal. Nobody's actually shaped like that, for one. And two, most of us do have actual eyeballs and not just dead, empty sockets.
If we apply Jesus' loving direction, we'll build a life which on bedrock will stand.
Because Jesus' loving direction equals Watchtower Society's rules. And what, pray tell, is this loving direction? Only read and or accept things written by the Watchtower. Only be friends with other Jehovah's Witnesses in good standing. Ignore your own instincts and your own inner voice, listening only to Watchtower. None of this is loving or ethical in any way whatsoever, guys. Now, let's talk about bedrock. No, not the town the Flintstones were from. Was that Bedrock? I think it was. I could be wrong about that. Bedrock is the solid rock layer underneath the soil. It's frequently used as a metaphor, though, for the fundamental truth on which we should supposedly base our values and worldviews. Now, given everything that we've already discussed here, do you really think Watchtower teachings qualify to be called bedrock? Do you really think that people who've chosen Watchtower over their children actually feel deep down that they've made the right choice? Personally, if my choice was between being with my children or following a religion in hopes of a reward, even if the reward was everlasting life in paradise, I'm going to choose my kids every single time. In fact, I would rather have 5 minutes with them than an eternity without them. So I look at these Jehovah's Witnesses who say they feel they've made the right choice by shunning their kids for smoking or masturbating or being gay or whatever as the ultimate liars. Because you know what? Watchtower could reverse their course on any of those things tomorrow, and you'd be expected to do an abrupt about-face. And chances are they wouldn't reinstate the people they disfellowshipped over the thing that is now okay according to the new light. You'd just be expected to obey the new light and still shun your loved one just for no reason now. Does this sound like a life built on bedrock to you?
Just as a tree rooted deep by the waters gives of its fruit when each season arrives.
Watchtower here demonstrates its ignorance of agriculture. Fruit trees generally need to be watered once a week to once every other week. They typically don't do very well in waterlogged soil like you would find, I don't know, by a river. Also, not all trees have deep root systems. Some trees' roots are actually only 4 to 6 inches deep. But okay, I get it. It's a metaphor. I'm being pedantic. No, actually, it's a simile. But anyway, pedantic. And there are years when trees don't produce fruit or they produce inedible fruit. Also, trees don't produce fruit in all seasons, so technically this is wrong on all counts. I mean, the way this is worded, it sounds like you could have an apple tree planted on the riverbank and it would not only survive, but produce apples in each season. So you'd have summer apples and fall apples and winter apples and spring apples from the same tree. That's not actually how trees work, guys. Oh, and what the hell kind of fruit is that? I mean, is that an oak tree that grows mutant peach apples?
If we obey as God's own sons and daughters, we'll all be blessed and enjoy endless life.
And here's our cliche restated again, that if we obey Watchtower, aka God, we'll be blessed and live forever. This is just not true, y'all. Also, there's an added element here that sort of infantilizes the Jehovah's Witness. We are to obey the Watchtower like children are expected to obey their parents, without question, with complete trust and immediate, constant compliance, because that's the expectation in the Jehovah's Witness world. This is neither healthy nor normal, guys. This is not okay, even for children. A child that is not allowed to question its parents or push boundaries is not a healthy child. They may be compliant, but they grow up with all kinds of issues, starting with an inability to manage their own affairs and make good adult decisions. That's not what we want. The bottom line is blessings do not come from blind obedience. You cannot trust and expect anyone else to have your best interest at heart or those of your family. If you are a parent, it is your job to provide blessings to your family. You cannot abdicate that responsibility to a publishing corporation whose only objectives are control and profit. And endless lives are nothing but a fairy tale. Nobody lives forever. It's not going to happen. The whole idea is preposterous.
That sounded very good. Caleb and Sophia are trying to memorize this song. Can you memorize it too?
I mean, not only should we listen to this direct, but we should memorize it like Caleb and Sophia? Participate fully in your own brainwashing. No thanks.
Okay, so I am obsessed with deep diving into scriptures that witnesses quote mine. So let's talk about the scripture that this song is based on, because I have nothing but question marks. Listen, obey, and be blessed is based on Luke chapter 11, verse 28. The exact quote is, "But he said, no, rather, happy are those hearing the word of God and keeping it." Okay, that's great, but what's going on? The portion that they snipped is an account of Jesus performing an exorcism. After doing so, a woman from the crowd who is amazed shouts out, "Happy is the womb that carried you and the breasts that nursed you." This is the equivalent of saying, "Your mother must be so proud." The extracted quote is Jesus essentially responding with the robotic dismissal of praise that Christians are so prone to do. "I couldn't have done this without God." Another interesting thing to note here is that all of the key words in this song are words that Jehovah's Witnesses altered out of their version of the scriptures. Listen, obey, blessed. None of these words appear in the New World Translation in this passage, but they do appear in other translations. In the New World Translation, these words are replaced by keep and happy. If the New World Translation was so accurate, why would they need to use words from other translations for this song? And finally, I want to point out that it's a shame no one will ever read the next scripture right after this one at Luke chapter 11, verse 29. When the crowds were massing together, he began to say, "This generation is a wicked generation. It looks for a sign, but no sign will be given to it except the sign of Jonah." A wicked generation looking for a sign? Why are the numbers 1914 and 1975 coming to mind?
This is what Jehovah wants you to do. Children, that's you, Caleb. Be obedient to your parents, that it may go well with you. That's why you should always listen to Mom and Daddy.
Thank you! I'm so proud of you for obeying. So what do you think you should do with this toy?
Have you ever searched for this song on YouTube? Most of the results I got were of kids performing covers, and they begin their performances by announcing how much they love this song and it's their absolute favorite. There's something concerning about that. We have children whose favorite song is one that is drilling the message, obey, 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 into their heads at their most formative years when they are the most susceptible to indoctrination. Compare it with this similar Baptist song for children.
We will listen and obey. Listen and obey. Listen and obey.
The message is the same. One is so obviously culty that only the most delusional will ever be able to take it seriously. The other is one that families will play on the regular in their minivan. And not to be dismissed is this abrupt shift in message that they're stressing. As we mentioned earlier, Life Without End at Last used to be the golden child of JW songs, which was every bit as emotionally manipulative, but still seemed to stress a message of hope. Why would that message suddenly change to one of blind obedience? Could it be that they've accepted that their time of converting new people with the promise of resurrected loved ones is over? Does this shift indicate an acceptance that their only future lies in the thorough indoctrination of born-in children? Something to think about. Alright, thanks for watching, and a huge thanks to Brigette for joining me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
If you'd like a look into other Kingdom melodies and all of the sinister things they tricked you into singing about, be sure to subscribe to her channel for more. Links are in the description below. Fair warning, you will get these songs stuck in your head. And if you haven't already, click on my subscribe button on your way down there, and I'll catch you next time.